Hello everyone, I'm going to read the Jordan Peterson thread on Kiwi Farms. Jordan Peterson, Internet Daddy Simulator, Postmodern Anti-Postmodernist, Canadian Psychology Professor, Depressed Carnivore. Peterson arose to fame in September 2016 for opposing compelled speech of Bill C-16. Because who can deal with calling a trans person by their correct pronoun? When they wear different bracelets, according to which of the 50 genders they feel like when they wake up in the morning. Now, it's a shame not to monetize this kind of attention, so the best advice Jordan Peterson had for his new followers was to do a personality test, and to pay him for the privilege of journaling about your deepest experiences on his website. Or certainly he would never use that as any kind of analysis on how to present himself to his tribe of lost boys. Since then, this permanently depressed professor has gone on to teach the fatherless boys of the internet that you should clean your room. So starved of attention, this caused the boys, aged 24 to 52, to actually try and make something of themselves for a week or two. And maybe apply for that cashier job and leave mom's basement once in a while. Clean your room was regarded as the great intellectual discovery of the 21st century and propelled the professor to face the final boss of the internet, feminists. This was the height of Peterson's fame, where his ideas still seemed somewhat sensible. What's typical for Jordan Peterson is that any question that is difficult will become a discussion about what the word is in a way to make Bill Clinton proud. The staunch Jordan Peterson, enemy of the postmodernists, would certainly never hide behind the postmodern trick of redefining words or meaning things in a metaphorical way rather than literal. Here, Peterson refuses to give a straight answer to, "Are you a Christian?" And here, Sam Harris and Jordan Peterson bicker over Jordan's attempt to redefine the word truth for a whole fucking hour. Since then, Peterson's mask has started to slip further, and this internet daddy seems to have a daughter that, maybe, wouldn't make most fathers proud. To help chill his daughter's pursuits, Peterson is now a carnivore too, and is suggesting it cured his depression at least until the next one. And on top of that, Peterson's lectures are full of unsourced Deepak Chopra claims, and you better not ask him about it at any of the events, because internet daddy will scold you. Could this possibly be true? Mate, you have put up a link to your hard drive. It won't work for us. Jordan is a strange man who destroys his own arguments unintentionally all the time, so I'm not sure how he's not a cow, to be honest. He is casually called a climate change denier, for example, which is an appallingly treacherous term of criticism used to denigrate someone personally by associating them with Holocaust deniers. The ethics of anyone who employs it should be instantly questioned. University of Toronto professor, a biological sex denier, on Canadian public TV with me. I don't know much about Sea Squirrel, but that Twitter thread has some useful clips that could be added to the OP. Here's the time Jordan Peterson claimed that without God, it is impossible to produce art. And when challenged on this absurdity, when it's pointed out there are atheist artists, Peterson claims they're actually religious without knowing it. The audience literally laughs at him. Jordan Peterson actually believes the DNA double helix, discovered in 1953, is depicted in ancient Chinese, Aboriginal, and Egyptian art. Here's Jordan Peterson saying he opposes gay marriage because it is backed by cultural Marxists and represents an assault on traditional modes of being. Jordan Peterson unfolds his deranged theory of inceldom, whereby Chads get all the women, and this is horrific for society, so it has to be changed. Joe Rogan points out this contradicts his rage whining about equality of outcome being Stalinism, and Peterson is literally stunned. Jordan Peterson became a living meme, partly due to his deranged belief that human beings and lobsters have the same physical and, by extension, social properties. Here's actual evolutionary biologist Paul Zachary Myers demolishing that pseudo-scientific garbage. Classic Jordan Peterson moment, that time he claimed he was unable to sleep for 25 days and faced impending doom because he had a sip of apple cider, which was his excuse for why he was unable to come up with a coherent definition of truth in his discussion with Sam Harris. Here's Jordan Peterson casually repeating that he would happily assault someone for having said something about him he didn't like. Remember, he loves free speech. Here, Jordan Peterson claims to have undeniable evidence for the existence of God. People stop smoking. Yes, really. Jordan Peterson claims that the real oppressed people in society aren't the poor, marginalized workers. No, actually, it's the managers and CEOs of corporations. The more power and wealth they have, the more oppressed they are, according to him. Here's Jordan Peterson once again, explicitly calling for the violent assault of people who say things he doesn't like. It should get you punched in the nose hard enough to knock you out. His audience applauds him for it. Whenever Jordan Peterson is around women, he has to remove 90% of himself because they can't handle the truth. Jordan Peterson unveils his deranged take that the birth control pill has destroyed Western civilization, which even takes some of the leading MAGAites by surprise. Jordan Peterson talks about how his daughter convinced him to move to a meat-only diet, which miraculously gave him all sorts of superpowers. Shortly after this, his life exploded into a million pieces. The famous clip of Jordan Peterson just asking questions about men and women working together in the workplace, which includes the deranged claim that if women wear makeup and complain about sexual harassment, they're being hypocritical, because, hey, that's your own fault. Another horrific outcome of the birth control pill, according to Jordan Peterson, women sleep around more, and that's horrible. This also led to the pornographication of society, which causes more men to masturbate, and as we all know, masturbation is the work of the devil. Here is a nice gem, Peterson sharing his sex dreams about his grandmother. I am not reading that, fuck off. So I watched the entire 2.5-hour debate between Zizek and Peterson, and I'll summarize it to save everyone some time. Zizek blew Peterson out of the water. Peterson came out swinging with what I'm sure he considered devastating takedowns of Marxism. And Zizek gently reframed the entire debate to be about the failures of hyper-individualistic, unrestrained capitalism. He did it so well, Peterson actually admitted that he was kinda undone. From that moment on, Zizek led the debate, though in a very friendly and cordial way. Zizek came off as much more worldly and mature, and he gently poked at Peterson with little bon mots about lobsters, and requested Peterson to name actual Marxist philosophers who subscribe to American identipole madness. Peterson couldn't, but he made a really interesting remark about Foucault switching out the concept of classes with identity to create the identipole movement. It was the single point he scored all night, but it was partially undone when Zizek pointed out that Foucault wasn't a Marxist thinker and, in fact, considered Marxism unrealistic. Peterson is obviously used to debating angry children and zealots because a calm and measured criticism of the status quo left him totally unseated. He had no idea how to handle Zizek, no frame of reference for Zizek's point of view, and seemed totally fucking bewildered by Zizek's positing that communistic societies aren't poor oppressed peasants under a jackboot heel, but are rather collections of people who allow these regimes to happen because it serves their purposes. Zizek won, but it wasn't really a fight. It was very friendly. I guess Jordan Peterson started whining about it and they shut down notjordanpeterson.com.
If there's anything I hate, it's the fucking Jews. We must secure the existence of our people and a future for white children.
So I guess he's in rehab for Klonopin withdrawal. She's sitting there blaming the medication when it was her father that decided to quit it cold turkey, which is specifically advised against for all benzodiazepines. It comes with a warning saying, it can make you suicidal. Yeah, when you suddenly stop taking it without doctor's supervision, dummy. Imagine the guy lecturing everybody about shit, doesn't have his shit in order. And he specifically made the point that, if you don't have your shit in order, you shouldn't be telling people how to fix their shit. I think this guy is a case of not really being different from every other public intellectual and saying the things he does because of the attention he gets from doing so. And when it comes down to it, he really isn't any different from anyone else. Can't wait for all of his fans to go, it's not his fault. I'll have a good laugh when that happens. This idiot went to Russia to break his benzo addiction and gave himself brain damage because he doesn't trust capitalist North American doctors. It sounds like that all beef miracle diet sure solved his problems. His daughter is still promoting that ludicrous diet too. She comes off as being as smart as a bag of hammers and a complete quack. She seems pretty pleased that the Russians weren't scared to detox him and put him in a coma, but it sounds like he's completely fucked now. Being sick and unable to walk or type isn't a good medical outcome. This was not a case of psychological addiction. Benzodependence due to the brain changes that can occur in a matter of weeks can destroy lives. It can be made even worse by paradoxical reactions that are difficult to diagnose. The medication almost killed my dad. It sounds like going to a sketchy Russian clinic and being put in a coma nearly killed him. At least he wasn't mentally disabled and bedridden before then. Heavy bullshit there from the daughter. You know what we call a severe physical dependence on heroin addiction. It is okay to say, I had a problem and I needed to get clean. Trying to make out JP as a special snowflake of special medical needs to avoid saying, I had a benzo habit, is foolish. He couldn't even follow his own rules. He even had his daughter be a patsy for him and make her roll out this bullshit story of extreme excuses. Sounds like he couldn't man up and medically taper off the benzos here because it was too uncomfortable. He wanted the knock me out and make my addiction go away while I'm unconscious, which isn't going to work. I've only heard of it being done for opiates, never benzos. How long would he have to be zonked out to do a benzo withdrawal? Damn, no wonder his brain is fucked up. The insistence his addiction is not psychological and refusal to even utter the word addiction is amusing. I'm sure it was nearly impossible to treat a guy in the West of a benzo addiction he insisted wasn't an addiction at all. It was a physical dependence due to an autoimmune reaction to food and his wife's cancer. He seems incapable of admitting he fucked up, started relying on benzos to cope and got hooked. It's a pretty common story, but I guess that's for weak plebs who don't man up and make their bed every morning. I don't know. Brilliant thinkers could come from troubled minds. Maybe Peterson will just be a fly-by-nighty celebrity. Maybe 100 years from now, he will be seen as one of the flashpoints of taking civilization out of the jaws of chaos. LMAO. Okay, dude. Jordan, you defeat the chaos and I'll snort benzos. Peterson has made millions making maps of meaning and rules for life. That should hopefully be good enough to prevent things like, I don't know, being a junkie, being afraid of mean people on Twitter, having a thought, stupid, possibly junkie daughter. All of us have to struggle with personal loss and not falling into the way of drugs. He failed. He clearly failed. He made a killing out of selling ideas that, in theory, should prevent that kind of failure. If he hadn't been so arrogant by thinking he knew better than all of us, and so fucking greedy in all of his ventures, he might get better sympathies.